You are listening to Lean Analytics, driving business efficiency and growth through data-driven insights. Written by Mick Taylor. Published by Audiobook Nexus.
What exactly is lean analytics? The basic concept of lean analytics is to enable a company to measure and then optimize the indicator that is most important to their initiative, project, or present product. There are often several ways to enhance your product, but you may not have the time to work on all of them. With lean analytics, you will learn how to identify and handle the single most important factor. Setting the objective of concentrating on the best approach will allow you to see genuine results. Just because your company has the capability and tools to monitor many things at once does not indicate that it is in your best interest to do so. Tracking many sorts of data at the same time may be a huge waste of time and energy, and it can also distract you from the real issues. Instead, you should concentrate your efforts on discovering that one critical measure. This measure will make or break the product or service that you provide. The technique you use to get this measure will differ based on your industry and a number of other things. This measure may be found by having a thorough awareness of two factors: the company or project on which you are currently working, the stage of the invention in which you are now located. Now that we have a fundamental grasp of lean analytics and what it entails, let us take some time to go further and examine its many components. What exactly is lean? Lean is a technique that is used to continuously improve a process or a product. This helps to reduce energy and resource waste in all of your operations. It is founded on the concept of continuing respect for people and your customers, as well as the purpose of focusing on incremental changes to strengthen your company. Lean is a broad technique that encompasses many elements of business. This manual will devote enough time to explaining a single aspect of lean analytics. You may learn how to make the necessary modifications here. Of course, you'll need a good idea of where to begin, and lean analytics may assist. Lean is a production approach that was first applied. The concept was to strive to remove all types of waste in a firm, enabling them to deliver excellent customer service and superior product while boosting earnings. Despite its humble roots, the lean approach has grown to function in practically any kind of company. You may apply the lean technique to assist increase efficiency and earnings as long as you deliver a product or service to consumer. For example, how will you know which metric will help you succeed? Which statistic will show to be the most effective and result in the greatest improvement when compared to others? How would the measure assist? How should it be deployed? And how can you tell whether it is ultimately successful? Lean analytics may assist you in gathering the information required to identify and operate with the appropriate measure. Analytical leanness. Lean analytics is a component of the lean startup process and consists of three components: building, measuring, and learning. These parts will come together to establish a lean analytics cycle of product development, which will swiftly lead to an MVP or minimum viable product. When done correctly, it may help you make wise judgments if you employ reliable metrics from lean analytics. Remember that lean analytics is just one component of the lean startup process. As a result, it will only cover a portion of the full lean technique. Lean analytics will concentrate on the phase of the cycle that addresses measurements and learning. It is never a smart idea to simply dive in and hope that everything works out for you. The lean technique is all about testing and determining precisely what your consumers want. This gives you confidence that you are giving your consumers a product they desire. Lean analytics is a critical step in ensuring that you have all of the information you need to make these critical choices. Before your firm chooses to use this approach, you must clearly understand what you need to monitor, why you need to track it, and what tools you will use to track it. Concentrate on the essentials. When working with lean analytics, you will need to concentrate on various lean principles. These are some examples. A drive for excellence. A pull-through mechanism. Maintain the business's flow. Purge all sorts of trash to increase the value stream. Respect and include the people or consumers. Concentrate on providing as much value to the consumer as possible in the shortest amount of time. The lean system and waste. One of the most important issues you will face with lean analytics or any of the other components of the lean approach is waste. Waste costs a firm time and money, and it often upsets the consumer. The company's bottom line suffers as a result of poor product construction, faults, overproduction, or bad customer service. When working with the lean system, you will handle various distinct forms of waste. The following are the most typical categories you may face with your lean analytics. Logistics. Examine how the company manages the conveyance of the service or product. You may check whether there is any needless movement of information, materials, or pieces during the process. These superfluous procedures and motions may cost your company a lot of money, particularly if they are done on a regular basis. This will assist you in determining if more efficient approaches exist. Waiting. Are facilities, systems, components, or people waiting? Individuals spend a significant amount of time idle despite the availability of jobs, or do facilities remain vacant while each portion waits for the work? Cycle to conclude. Inefficient circumstances may cost the organization a lot of money. You want to ensure that your employees are taking the best possible measures to complete their tasks without wasting time or energy. 19. Overproduction. Here, you must examine client demand to decide if production fits this need or is in excess. Check to see whether the product is being produced quicker or in greater quantities than the customer desire. When you manufacture more things than the consumer requires, you will wind up spending too much money on those products. As a company, you must discover what your customers want and need so that you only manufacture what you can sell. 19. Defects. Identify the process steps that might result in an undesirable product or service for the customer. If problems do exist, consider if you should concentrate to avoid losing money. Examine the whole inventory, including both completed and unfinished goods. Look for any pending work, raw materials, or completed commodities that are not being utilized and have little value. 19. Movement. Check to determine whether there is any unnecessary movement, notably of commodities, equipment, people, and materials. If there is, can you discover strategies to eliminate waste in order to save money? 19. Additional processing. Examine any current additional work and how much goes above and beyond the customer's expectations. Extra processing might guarantee that you are not investing more time and money than is required. How lean may assist you in defining and then improving a value stream. When you look at the value stream, you will see all of the information, people, resources, and activities that must flow and collaborate in order to create value for your consumers. You need these to work effectively together so that the consumer receives the value they anticipate, when and how they want it. A value stream map will allow you to identify the value stream. The plan. Do, check, act, approach. may help you increase your value stream. This method may be utilized at the beginning to develop the proper processes and products before they reach their final shape. Furthermore, the technique aids in the creation of a safe and ordered atmosphere, as well as the identification of any trash. The 5S plus technique is another way to create this environment. Sort, straighten, scrub, systematize, and standardize. After that, make sure that any potentially hazardous circumstances along the road are removed. The reason you will want to sort and clean is to make it simpler to notice any trash. When everything is a mess and everyone is confused about what belongs, where sorting and cleaning may quickly address waste. There may also be occasions when you dismiss something as useless, just to discover that it is vital. When everything is in order, you will be able to make better sense of them. Procedures in front of you. After that, you may go further into the system and remove anything that might be deemed waste or dangerous, focusing your time and money on portions of the process that genuinely bring value to your consumer. The lean analytics stages that every company must follow. To be effective with lean analytics, you must go through various phases. You will be unable to proceed to the following level if the previous step is not completed. There are 5 in particular that you will need to concentrate on in order to complete work using this element of the lean support approach. The 5 phases are as follows. Stage 1. In the first stage, you will focus on identifying the issue for which people are looking for a solution. This stage is crucial for a company that concentrates on business to business sales. When you have resolved this issue, you may go to the next level. Stage 2. For this stage, you will develop an MVP product that will be utilized by early adopter clients. This is the stage when you want to focus on user retention and engagement, and you may spend some time researching how this will happen after people start using the product. You may also obtain this information by observing how customers interact with your website and how long they remain. At this step, you will need to explore and may need to browse through and pick from a few different goods until you find the one that is best for you. You may proceed after you have this information. Stage 3. Once you've determined how early adopter consumers would react to a product or service, it's time to figure out the most cost-effective strategy to reach additional customers. You may go to the next level if you have a strategy in place to acquire those clients and more of them begin buying the product. You don't want to go with a product that is popular yet expensive, since this will reduce your income and make it tough to expand in the future. Stage 4. You will now devote some attention to economics and the amount of income you generate. You want to be able to maximize revenue, hence, you must compute the LTV-CAC ratio. The LTV is the expected income from the client, while the CAC is the cost invested to acquire that customer. This ratio may be calculated by dividing your LTV by your CAC. If your LTV is 3 times more than your CAC, your margins are performing well. The margins, the better, since it indicates you'll make more money from the venture. Stage 5. In the last stage, you will take the measures required to build the firm. If you're producing a high enough margin from the previous phases, you may stick with your present strategy, but you may need to make some modifications to guarantee that you can generate enough income to keep the company expanding. You may also spend time planning where you want to focus your attention in the future to assist your company develop and flourish. Your primary aim for your company is to expand and gain income. This phase allows you to assess your present strategy and determine if it is working for you or whether you need to try something new. The Lean Analytics Cycle. The Lean Analytics Cycle is critical for getting started with this aspect of the Lean support approach in your firm. This procedure consists of 4 parts, and following each one is critical to ensure that it works for you. The scientific approach is the best way to think about the Lean Analytics Cycle. You must think about what needs to be changed in your firm. Develop a hypothesis to guide your results, and then conduct experiments to evaluate whether it is the proper procedure for you to continue pursuing. You don't simply quit if things don't work out. You will continue to conduct more tests using the same hypothesis if it works. If not, a new hypothesis will be formed until you discover the correct answer. When you start going through the full process, the Lean Analytics Cycle will be quite beneficial. Let's go through the actions you need to follow in order to implement the Lean Analytics Cycle. What do I need to work on? Before you can use the Lean Analytics Cycle, you must first thoroughly understand your company. You must understand all of the critical parts of your firm, in addition to understanding what you want to improve. During this initial phase, you may need to consult with other business people to choose which measure to employ depending on what is most important to your company right now. You can also consider your company's strategy to choose which measure would work best for you. After you've chosen a statistic, you should link it to the KPI, or Key Performance Indicator. One example is the statistic known as a conversion rate if the KPI is the number of individuals who presently buy the product. To make this process simpler, you should first establish a list of 3 keys that are relevant to your organization. After that, for each metric, put down the KPI that will be measured. Never attempt to adopt the Lean system without first identifying the most critical processes that need to be changed. Sure, you could definitely come up with a lengthy list of things to improve in your firm. However, you will not get the full advantages of the Lean system till you choose items that are critical to the overall operation of your firm. Examine what your company needs to improve and prioritize the most crucial ones before going on. Create a hypothesis. This is the stage when a certain amount of ingenuity is required. The hypothesis will provide you with the answers you need to proceed. You must seek inspiration, which may be obtained in one of 2 ways. You may seek an answer to a question like, if I perform, I believe Eve will occur and will be the result. The first place you should examine is whatever data you have accessible. This data will often give you the solution you need. If you don't have any data, you may need to do your own research to get an answer. You may apply some of your rivals' methods, follow techniques that have worked successfully. For others, conduct a poll or research the market to choose the best alternative. What you must remember here is that the hypothesis exists to assist you in thinking like your audience. You should keep asking questions until you comprehend what they are thinking, or until you come to understand your audience's or customer's behavior. Perform an experiment. After you've spent time developing a theory, it's time to put it to the test with the assistance of an experiment. To begin to start with an experiment, examine the following 3 questions. 19. Who is the intended audience? You must carefully assess who your consumers are and if they are the proper clients for you, or whether you should search elsewhere for better outcomes. Consider some of the methods you approach. People, and if there are better ways to do so. 19. What do you anticipate the target audience will do? This often entails buying, utilizing, or doing something similar to the product. If the audience understands what you want them to do, whether it is simple, for them to do the activity and how many of the target audience complete the assignment. 19. Why do you believe they should carry out the action? Are you giving them enough incentive to complete the task? Do you believe the plan is effective? If you aren't motivating them enough, are they doing these things for the benefit of rivals or otherwise? Answering these questions is critical because it may help you better understand your consumer than ever before. It does not have to be tough to design your experiment at this stage. To begin started, try this sentence. Who will do? What, because, why to improve your KPI towards the defined goals or target. If you went through the previous stage and came up with a decent hypothesis, creating a nice experiment shouldn't be too difficult. Then, after you've completed the experiment, you can go through and configure Lean Analytics so that you can measure your KPI and continue with the experiment. Make a choice based on your results. It is not possible to begin an experiment and then abandon it. You must measure how well it works to see whether it is genuinely functioning, if improvements are required, or if you must start again. You may then decide what measures you need to do next. Some things to look for when assessing results at this level include: was the experiment a success or a failure? If it is, the metric is complete. You may now go on to the next measure to enhance your company. Was the experiment a failure? The theory should then be revised. You should pause and take some time to find out why the experiment failed so that you may come up with a better hypothesis the next time. The experiment was moving, but it wasn't getting anywhere. In this case, you will still need to define a whole new experiment. You may stick with the hypothesis if it still looks plausible, but the experiment must be changed. False metrics versus meaningful metrics. Understanding that most individuals use their data incorrectly is one of the criteria for working with Lean Analytics. When you don't utilize your data appropriately, you won't be able to identify trends, possibilities, or outcomes that are attainable. There are two implications to this concept. These are the 2 points. Many businesses, as well as individuals, will describe themselves as data-driven. True, they may use a significant portion of their resources on data collection. They, however, lose out on the driven portion. Few people will truly establish a plan on the facts gleaned through data. They may have the proper facts, but they either may not grasp them or choose to respond wrongly to them. 19. Even when a corporation or individual's activities are guided by data, the issue of employing incorrect data persists. They often oversimplify these measurements and then apply them according to convention. Keep in mind that just because other individuals do or have done something does not indicate that it will be advantageous to your aims. As a result, the data will be trash in, and the analysis will be garbage out. This is sometimes referred to as fake data. As a firm interested in using Lean Analytics, it is critical to understand the distinction between misleading metrics and useful metrics. If you use incorrect metrics, you will be pursuing a plan that will not help you achieve your objectives, resulting in a lot of time, effort, and resources lost. The most common false metrics to avoid as a firm attempting to reduce waste and give the greatest customer service and goods possible. You must constantly keep an eye out for some of the misleading metrics that may emerge. Many individuals who don't understand how data works will be duped by these bogus measures, which will result in lost time and money. Some of the most frequent bogus metrics to be aware of include the total number of hits. Just because you have a nice website with numerous points of interest does not always guarantee that it will tell you what the visitors are really interested in. You should not be concerned with the number of visitors to your website. This may make you feel good about your website, and it might be interesting to see how many people visit it. However, you should pay greater attention to what the consumer is interested in or seeking. Page views are the number of times a site's pages are clicked in a certain period of time. This measure is marginally better than hits, but you shouldn't spend your time with it. Unless you are dealing with a firm that relies on page views, such as advertising, counting individuals is a preferable measure to utilize in most circumstances. This is possible using technologies that offer statistics on unique visitors every month. Total number of visitors. The main issue with this statistic is that it is often too wide. Is this statistic talking about one person who visited the same site 100 times or 100 persons who visited once? Because you have more impressions, you will most likely want to look at the second set of individuals. Otherwise, just counting the number of visits will not provide you with this information. The number of unique visits is, this indicator will tell you how many visitors visited your website and viewed the homepage. This may seem to be a nice idea at first, but it will not provide you with any useful information. You may also want to know how many people departed immediately away when they saw the page and how many remained and browsed around. Unique visitors may let you notice that new people are visiting your website and looking around, but they don't tell you much about those visitors or what they are doing. The number of followers, likes, or friends. This is an example of a vanity statistic that will give you bogus popularity. The degree of influence that you have is a better statistic to use. This refers to the number of individuals who will do what you want them to do. While having followers and likes on your page shows that people are interested in your material, it is not as significant as some of the other metrics you might use. Email addresses are as follows. Having a large collection of email addresses isn't always a negative thing. However, just because you have a huge list does not guarantee that everyone on it will open, read, and act on the messages you send. You want to make sure that the email addresses you do have are of excellent quality and come from individuals who want to hear from you, even if it means that your email list is somewhat smaller. If you're collecting email addresses, try to gather them from individuals who are truly interested in your products and services. Collect emails for more than simply bragging rights. The number of downloads is as follows. This is a standard metric for downloaded items. While it may assist with your rankings in the App Store, the download number will not tell you anything in detail and will not provide you with any genuine information. You may choose better metrics if you want to receive more exact responses here. The launch rate is a fantastic place to start since it shows the proportion of people that downloaded the product, registered an account, and then utilized it. You can also utilize the percentage of users who pay to check how many people really pay for things. Customers' time spent on a page or website. This will only be effective for firms that are closely linked to the behavior of the engaged time. For example, a consumer may spend a significant amount of time on your website, but what if they are spending that time on the assistance or complaints pages? This is not always a positive thing for your company. Thus, this measure is not the greatest one to use. If you want to choose a statistic that will genuinely help your organization succeed, you must avoid some of these bogus metrics. They may seem to be beneficial on the surface, but in fact, they are just providing you with information that may or may not be useful, and you will wind up losing a lot of time and money by following them. Identifying and selecting a good metric. Finding a suitable metric to assist you is part of the lean analytics process. The lean analytics cycle is a measurement of progress toward a predefined target. So, after you've defined your company objectives, you should consider the metrics you may use to track your progress toward those goals. This may be difficult. How are you expected to pick a decent measure that will ensure you reach your objectives? When looking for a suitable metric, you should check for the following. Characteristics. Comparable. If your metric is similar, you know you have a decent one. Want to be able to compare how things have evolved over the previous year, or even month to month. This offers you a solid indication of if there have been any positive or bad changes in your company process, client happiness, and other areas. To test for this, ask yourself the following questions regarding the metric. How did it do last year or even last month? Is the conversion rate increasing? You may utilize the cohort analysis to help you monitor conversion rates. Understandable. The measure you employ should never be confusing or difficult to understand. Everyone should be able to grasp the concept. This ensures they understand what the metric is measuring. 19 ratio. When dealing with measurements, you should never work with absolute numbers. If you discover that you have any of them, you should endeavor to convert them to make comparisons simpler, which will make choices easier. 19 adaptability. If you choose a good measure, it should influence how the company evolves. If you see that the metric is shifting but have not understanding of why, it is never a good metric. With you rather than arbitrarily otherwise, it will not be secure to use. Metrics types. When doing lean analytics, you have two measure categories to choose from. These indicators comprise both qualitative and quantitative data. To begin, qualitative indicates that the metric has direct interaction with your clients. This includes stuff like comments and interviews. It will offer you in-depth information on the metric. You may also use quantitative measures. These measures are more numerical in nature. You may utilize these to ask the appropriate questions of the consumer. Of course, each of these techniques offers additional features that make them simpler to use. Both of these strategies offer both actionable and vanity metrics. Vanity metrics will not change the behavior of the item you're worried about. These are a huge waste of your time and should be avoided at all costs. They seem to give you solid advice and something you can do, but they often don't take you anywhere and may make matters worse. If you are working with a business to assist you decide your metrics, be aware if they begin extolling them. Advantages of any of the vanity metrics. 19 actionable measurements will eventually change the behavior of the object you're worried about. These are the kinds of metrics you want to use on your project. They are measurements that may guide you to the plan you should follow and make it simpler to design a strategy to increase the efficiency of your firm. Metrics reporting is a wonderful technique to find out how well a firm performs in regular tasks. Exploratory metrics will be valuable in helping you discover any facts about the firm that you are unaware of. Lagging metrics are useful when you need more of a history of the business and as many facts as possible to assist you make a choice. A company's turnover might be an excellent example of a lagging measure. This is because it will show you how many consumers canceled their purchases over a certain period of time. Leading metrics are useful because they may supply you with the information You need to build future business projections. Consumer complaints are an example of a leading statistic since they may assist you in predicting how a consumer will respond. You will need to decide the kind of measure to employ depending on the issue or project you are working on. Working with a single metric is typically the best option. This will help you stay on track and know what to look for. Don't spend time attempting to work on more than one measure. You will merely get confused and have no notion of what tactic to use. Simple analytical tests for use. Another thing you should focus on if you want to succeed with lean analytics is familiarity with the tests that are employed. These tests are useful since they will help you analyze any assumption that you are attempting to employ here. These tools may also assist you in identifying client feedback so that you can reply appropriately. Let's take a look at some of the greatest analytical tests for dealing with lean analytics. Segmentation. Segmentation is the first test a collection of data from a demographic bucket is compared. In this method, you may split the demographics in any way you like, such as by gender, lifestyle, age, or location. You may use this data to learn where people are buying a certain product if female and male clients have distinct purchase habits and whether your target audience seems to be of a certain age group or not. The goal of creating a user segment is to make it simpler for the data to be actionable. Analytics may tell you a lot about the individuals that buy from you, but there is frequently a lot of information there and drawing appropriate conclusions from this information can be difficult after all. Although historical data might be informative, it isn't the ideal way to advise you on how to enhance retention or conversion rates. This is when the segmentation process will come into play. You will be better equipped to design a strategy to manufacture new items that serve them the most if you discover how to filter out the audience. Analytics can provide you with the information you want, but segmentation can assist you in taking action. For example, you may have a conversion rate that seems to be average or excellent, but it might be the result of a mix of one group that converts really well and regularly, and another group that appears to never convert at all. You might be squandering a lot of money on the second category, where no one converts at all. Segmentation may assist you identify what you are doing correctly when engaging the first group and can provide you with a strategy for improving to work on the second group. When it comes to segmentation, you don't only want to look at the data to understand more about your people. You also want to come up with data that you can act on. This is where segmentation can assist. You will be able to segment your consumer base and understand how to promote to them more effectively than ever before. Keep in mind that not all clients will be the same. Buy something once, and they are not frequent customers. While reaching out to them is certainly important, you should discover who your regular audience is, what they react to, and what keeps them coming back. This will guarantee that you keep them coming back and make as much money as possible. So, how do you construct a consumer segment? When building a segmentation, there are several choices available to you. But first, let's look at how you might construct a segmentation for your lean analytics project. The steps you must take are as follows. Define your segmentation's purpose. You should first decide how you want to utilize your segmentation. Do you want to utilize it to increase your consumer base? Do you want to utilize it to manage a portfolio of existing customers? Do you wish to cut down on waste, improve your efficiency, or anything else? Defining your mission might help you determine how to categorize your clients. Determine which variables are the most important. These will have an impact on the aim of your segmentation. Make sure you put them in the order of significance, and you may use tools like a decision tree or clustering to assist you, for example, if you want to. Segment items to determine which ones are the most lucrative. You might use revenue and cost characteristics. Once you've determined your variables, you'll need to choose the threshold and granularity for constructing these segments. These should have 2 to 3 tiers, one for each variable. However, depending on the intricacy of the issue you are attempting to address, you may need to adjust. 19 customers should be assigned to each cell. You may then determine whether or not a fair distribution exists for them. If you don't see this, you may investigate why or adjust the thresholds to make it function. You may repeat these processes until you get a fair distribution, and include this new segmentation in the analysis and then go through it at the segment level. Cohort examination. The cohort analysis is a test that compares data sets using a time bucket. In this test, there will be behavioral variances between consumers who came in the free trial stage of your process, those who arrived at the initial launch, and those who are in the full payment stage. Each of these is important since it helps you determine which clients are likely to return and become full-fledged customers in the future. Those that turn up in the early phases while the product is free are not always the ones who will show up when sales begin. They could have merely wanted to test it out and had no actual stake in the product. Customers in the latter 2 phases may be more suitable for you to deal with. They will be the most interested in the goods since they've paid for them. You should actually investigate them utilizing cohort analysis to see who your true consumer base is and how they behave so that you can better advertise to them later on. A/B testing. A/B testing is the process of comparing 2 options for a characteristic. This might be a picture, a motto, or a color to help you choose which alternative is the most successful. Assume you have 2 items to compare and you want to know which ones consumers love the most. Did they prefer one product over another, and why? Did they react better to the green option or the blue option? To make this test work, you must assume that everything else will remain constant. So it would have to be the same product, but there is one difference between them. You could, for example, create a website with a red backdrop on one version and a yellow background on another. Then, using A/B testing, you might determine which of those options the consumer reacted to the best. Additionally, you may work on multivariate analysis. This is similar to the previous step, except instead of trying out one characteristic, you will compare numerous modifications against another set of adjustments to see which is the most successful. This one will need a few adjustments in the second product compared to the first in order to be the most effective. When you are ready to conduct an A/B test, you must have certain factors in place. These are some examples. 19. Understand why you are doing this A/B test. 19. The thing you are testing must be visible to the audience. If you make a little modification that no one will notice, your results will not be consistent. 19. Continue to test just one variable at a time. You will have problems if you do multivariate testing or test more than one item at a time. Able to pinpoint which variable is producing the observed changes. 19. Your test must be statistically significant in the end. This implies that it must have a large enough sample size to test and know that the findings are valid within a given margin of error. Let's look at an example of how this may be done. This test will be applied to a website that you are attempting to enhance. There are 2 primary methods for doing this. 19. You will test the pages separately. 19. You will utilize JavaScript to run the test inside the page, eliminating the requirement for two separate URLs. The first alternative will need the use of two distinct URLs for the sites under consideration. You may give them similar names, but make sure there's a means to keep track of them and avoid getting them mixed up. You will need some expertise dealing with JavaScript if you choose the second option. You can then use part of this code on your website to dynamically provide one of the options. The approach you use is often determined by your preferences and the instruments you choose to employ. Both of them will provide accurate results, but implementing each of them will require a different amount of time to set up. The first step in the lean analytical process is understanding the type of project. Now that we've looked at some of the main aspects of lean analytics, let's take a deeper look at how the process works. These might assist you in getting started with the lean analytics stage for your firm and making the most of lean. The initial stage will be to comprehend your company's or project's nature. How can you choose the proper metrics if you don't know what sort of company or project you're working on? You must thoroughly grasp the job at hand in order to choose an excellent measure that will provide you with outcomes. There are 6 broad company kinds that you might fit into, and each one will have metrics that operate best or matter the most for them if your company or project appears on this list. Your work will be made easier. All you have to do is concentrate your attention on understanding the priority of what has to be assessed. This may entail extensive external research. However, just because your company isn't on this list doesn't mean you're out of luck and can't do anything. You may just utilize part of the material in this chapter as an example to develop your own knowledge and metrics from it. Commerce. Commerce will be the first sort of company. These are exploding right now, as more and more buyers hunt for the items they wish to purchase online. And many businesses discover that giving their goods and services to these people online allows them to generate significant profits. An e-commerce company is one in which clients purchase products via a website. This might include companies like Expedia.com, Walmart.com, and others. The approach for this form of company is to determine the type of client connection that you desire. This suggests you'll prioritize either new client acquisition or customer loyalty. You must choose between the two since it will influence all other choices you make in this sort of company. In an online firm, there are several KPIs to consider. Some of the common ones used by other firms in this area include availability of inventory, shipping period, the effectiveness of a mailing list, virality, search efficiency, abandonment of shopping cart, revenue generated by each customer, the amount of money you spend to acquire new consumers, size of shopping cart, purchases made regularly, rate of conversion. The most effective metrics. Of course, while dealing with an e-commerce site, there are various indicators that will function well and offer you the highest return on investment. Following are the ideal metrics to utilize in this situation. Rate of conversion. This is the percentage of all visitors to your website who also make a purchase. When it comes to internet shopping, the average conversion rate is 2%. However, there are others who can do better. For example, tickets.com has a market share of more than 11%, whereas Amazon.com has a market share of less than 10%. Shopping cart abandonment. It is common for 65% of visitors to your website to leave their carts. Many of them are due to the high delivery fees, while others are due to the high price of all the products in their basket you should absolutely spend. Some time analyzing any shopping cart abandonment that occurs in your organization to determine why you are losing these clients. Search efficiency. The bulk of your customers will have to look for what they need. Making your search more successful will assist your clients find what they're looking for rather than leaving them frustrated. Remember that 79% of your total consumers will utilize the search engine to find half of the items they want. Software as a service SaaS. These businesses will offer software either as a download or as a subscription. This includes applications such as Skype, Evernote, Basecamp, Adobe, and others. Although they are not selling a tangible object, these software packages are nevertheless very necessary for most people to get work done or do other things on their computers. The objective with this one is that most software will consist of subscription-based goods, which implies that client retention is critical. Your success will be determined by your ability to establish a loyal client base quicker than those consumers leave. There are various measures you can use to do this. Some of the most popular metrics associated with this sort of company model are uptime and dependability, upselling virality, customer attrition, customer life expectancy, the cost of acquiring new consumers, the amount of profit you earn from each consumer, conversion of users, stickiness of users, enrollment of users, user interest. The most effective metrics you may utilize any of the measures listed above, as you did last time, although some may be more effective than others in helping you achieve your overall objectives. The following are some of the greatest KPIs to utilize with a software company. Paid Vs. Free enrollment, which is better. Your enrollment rate will vary based on whether or not you requested payment card information during the free trial period. The former will get an average registration rate of 2%, with 50% of those who join up eventually purchasing. When you don't inquire, the average rises to 10%, but only 25% buy the goods. Increasing income and upselling. Some of the greatest software companies can persuade 2% of their paid clients to boost their monthly payments. It is possible to increase your client income by 20% in a year if you work hard enough. Attrition, or churn rate. This is the percentage of your consumers that are departing. Across the industry, the best organizations typically have an attrition rate of 1.5 to 3% every month. If your proportion is larger, you must develop strategies to keep people coming back. Companies that make mobile apps. These are the firms that will offer applications for mobile devices such as Android and iPhone. WhatsApp and Instagram are two examples of firms that fit under this category. The method you want to use here is to identify the appropriate target audience. There are several methods for your app to generate cash, but the bulk of your revenue will come from a smaller set of clients rather than the whole. Public. You should concentrate your research and analytics in order to better understand those consumers. As an app firm, you have several KPIs at your disposal. Some of the most prevalent choices are customer life expectancy, ratings for churn rates click, virality, the amount of money you earn from each paying customer, the amount of money you earn from each user, the percentage of users who pay, how much does it cost to get customers, the launch rates, downloads, the most effective metrics. Of course, there are other metrics to consider as an app firm, but a handful of Them will give you the most information and may help your business expand significantly. Some of the most effective metrics are app downloads and launch. The number of users that download and subsequently activate the product will fit in here. It is well known that many individuals who download an app never activate or use it at all, particularly if the program is free. The expense of acquiring new customers. To attract new clients, you might follow a basic guideline of having a budget of 75 cents per user in your marketing campaigns. You should always ensure that the expense of acquiring new consumers is less than what you will gain from them. So if you only make 50 cents on each client, you shouldn't spend 75 cents on each one. Your average revenue per client is. The business model is often used to determine this. For example, freemium applications or apps that generate income via user involvement often have a larger revenue per user than premium apps. Companies that run media websites. If you work in this field, you probably have a website where you will supply some material, such as articles, in exchange for advertising or some other sort of cash. Most blogs and other websites such as Skin, Com, Snet, and others fall under this category. Media companies must fully comprehend the source of their income. It is not coming directly from their readers or users of their product, but rather from advertising attempting to reach those readers. So if you own a media site, you'd get money through affiliates, click-based advertising, display advertising, and sponsorship. You should construct your important metrics to accommodate this. Some of the many metrics that you might use for a media site firm include inventory of pages, visits per page, visitors who are new, visitors who are distinct, balance of content and advertising. Too much advertising on the website detracts from the content and drives customers away. Rates of click-through, advertisement rates, advertisement inventory, churn and audience. The most effective metrics. 19 click-through rate. The percentage of users who will click on a link out of all those that visit the page. In 2010, the average click-through rate for a sponsored search was 2%. However, certain businesses might achieve higher rates. If you find yourself at 1%, it is time to make some adjustments. However, if you are over that figure, you are doing quite well. Time spent engaged. This is how long your reading will remain on the site. And browse the content and advertisements. Most media sites will aim for 90 seconds for content pages and somewhat less for landing pages. If your visitors do not spend more than a minute on the content pages, it is probable that your material is not engaging them. 19 media content optimization. This one entails modifying existing material to make it suitable for different platforms such as podcasts and videos. You should keep track of how others are utilizing the stuff you have, since it may lead you to some fresh chances. Business based on user-generated material. If you have an active community, they will offer free material this same. Engagement will give you advertisements as well as other income streams. Some businesses that use this include forums, Wikipedia, Com, Reddit, Com, Facebook, Com, and Yelp. Com. You should choose a strategy that takes user involvement into consideration. This company will succeed when its visitors become frequent contributors, connect with others in the community, and offer great material. Tiers of user engagement to gauge participation may also be beneficial. Some of the metrics you may wish to employ with user-generated content are The efficiency of notification and mail. Content distribution. Worth of the generated material. Engagement funnel changes in content creation. How many interested visitors do you have? The most effective metrics. Daily time spent on the site. In this section, you will determine how long the average visitor spends on your site and how engaged they are on a regular day. This is an excellent indicator of engagement and stickiness. The average time spent on Facebook is nearly an hour, while Tumblr and Reddit are 21 and 17 minutes, respectively. 19 spam unwanted content. You must constantly ensure that excellent material is submitted to these types of groups. You will have to invest time and money to keep poor and fraudulent material off your website. You may measure what you believe is good and terrible and then create a system to help you keep track of it. You may also spend your time monitoring for quality decrease and correcting it before it destroys your community. Marketplace with two sides. These companies will link buyers and sellers, and they will be compensated for their efforts. It functions similarly to an e-commerce shop. Priceline.com, Airbnb.com, eBay.com, and Etsy.com are a few examples. The aim of this firm is to be able to attract two separate types of clients: buyers and sellers. The greatest bet is to start with people who have money to spend. If you can discover a group of individuals who want to spend their money, those who want to earn money will almost certainly join them. When it comes to a two-sided marketplace company, some of the KPIs that you might employ include the number of sales and money you generate, metrics for pricing, ratings and any indications of fraud, funnels for conversion, search efficiency, inventory expansion, buyer and seller expansion. The most effective metrics. On the transactional side, sellers seldom have the funds or time to research pricing and the efficacy of their material and images. As the owner, you will have access to aggregate data from all of your sellers, which you can use to assist them with this analysis. The transaction size is the same as the purchase size, and it will vary depending on your company type. You should assist your merchants in measuring it so that they can learn your buyer's behavior and utilize it to sell more things. Top 10 lists. You may create top 10 lists to assist buyers in finding the best items and sellers in understanding what is going on in the business and what they can do to be more lucrative. As you can see, there are several company kinds available, and it is quite probable that your company will be included on this list. If it does, there is an outline you may follow to establish a successful plan. Even if you don't, you may use a couple of these tactics to help you develop the measurements and strategy you need to succeed. Determine your current situation. Now that you know what sort of company you are in, you may go to the second phase of lean analytics. This one will need you to identify the stage of innovation you are currently in. The one statistic that is most important to you right now is a function of time. It will vary as your project progresses through the many phases of innovation. There are several phases of the invention that you may work with. These are some examples. Stage 1, empathy or a genuine problem. At this step, you will discover an issue in your company and then enter the mind of your target user. Put yourself in their position and try to understand why there is a problem and what they are thinking. To aid with this step, you may need to spend some time talking to prospective consumers. The more you can communicate to prospective clients and other market participants about the product or service you intend to provide, the better off you will be. This might provide you with valuable information that can help your company grow. You must concentrate on any metrics that may assist you in determining whether or not the issue is detrimental to your organization. The metric must also assess if there are enough individuals who care about this issue. If just a few individuals regard it as an issue, it's usually not worth your effort to fix it. However, if a large number of people regard something as an issue, it is something that has to be addressed. You may also utilize analytics to determine the success rates of your present solutions and if any of them need to be changed. Stage 2. Stickiness or a viable solution. In this stage, you will begin by creating a lean prototype of your solution to the issue you discovered in the previous phase. You must consider whether or not people will pay for this. This is the time to get input from small focus groups and testers. Based on such data, you may make tweaks and alterations to the solution until it is perfect. You must concentrate on any measure that demonstrates that your solution will inspire the user to interact and return to your organization. Stage 3. Virality, or does this solution bring value to a large enough number of people? Once you have a solution and a product that is deemed effective, you must determine if the value added is sufficient for the consumer to tell others about it. Remember that word-of-mouth recommendations are useful as a forerunner to growth measurement and as free advertising for the company. You may work for natural endorsements. The consumer appreciates the product or service so much that they just suggest it to their friends. Or incentive-based endorsements, such as giving the goods out for free or at a discount. For this one, you should concentrate on analytics that may determine whether or not you are gaining new clients from current ones. And you want to know how many of these recommendations occur. You may also look at stats to see how long it takes for news to disseminate or the cycle time. Stage 4. Can I make this lucrative or generate revenue? You must now calculate how much money you may anticipate from selling the product or service you generated in the previous phase. Prices, standardization, cost management, and margins may all be worked on. You must invest time in this phase to demonstrate your ability to generate revenue in a self-sustaining and scalable manner. Otherwise, this is not the option for you. This one will need you to concentrate on measures that will tell you the net revenue you can make for each client. The net will be the revenue generated per client less the cost of acquiring that customer. Stage 5. Scalar. Can we reach a larger audience? Now that you have a product, have shown its effectiveness, and have a business plan in place to demonstrate that it will be useful and lucrative, you can invest and grow it into other areas. This may involve expanding into new areas, mediums, and audiences. If you are working on an efficient project or firm, you should concentrate on measures that may cut expenses. If you operate in a differentiation-oriented firm or project, you should concentrate on metrics that measure margins for you. What can I do with these phases of innovation? Now that you've learned a little bit more about these phases of invention, it's crucial to find out where you are and what you can do with each one. Following this, you should do the following steps. Examine the phases listed above to identify where your company or project stands right now. Refocus your attention on the items you should be measuring at this level. If your idea does not fit into this framework, keep in mind that all inventive undertakings will go through a series of phases as well as maturity over time. Are you able to take this framework and use it in any way to determine what stage your project is currently in? This may make a significant distinction in assisting you to comprehend what you should be working on right now. Knowing where you are in the innovation process may make a significant impact. Looking at the 5 steps above will provide you with a clear overview of what you need to concentrate on and what needs to be done to keep you going ahead. How are you going to know what measures to take to get to the next level if you have no notion of where you are right now? Always have a solid notion of where you are in the innovation process so that you can see where you should go next and stay on track. Determine the most important metric. The key to being successful with any form of inventive initiative is to concentrate. As a result, you cannot devote too much time to analytics, since this will lead you to get distracted and lose all concentration. It is typically better to limit the number of metrics tracked in the early phases of innovation. If possible, concentrate on only one measure, the one that is most important right now. The most critical project or business demand is frequently associated with the highest priority measure. A subscription software firm, for example, may be at the virality stage and attempting to acquire momentum with it. They may determine that the net additions measure will be the most useful to them. Remember that net adds a total of new paid subscribers, total of canceled subscribers. There may be additional indicators that your organization may employ, but you must concentrate on only one. You must first determine which issue is the most urgent or critical right now, and then choose a statistic that best matches this. How can I locate that one metric? Some of the measures you may take to identify the one statistic that matters the most right now are as follows. Write down the top 3 to 5 metrics that you like tracking and use often. How many of these measures are genuinely useful to you? How many do you consider while making business decisions? How many of them would be vanity or deceptive metrics? What stage of the company or project are you in? Do you comprehend what is important in the business model? Can you eliminate any metrics that aren't providing you with value right now? Are there any additional metrics that you can think of that aren't on your list that you believe would be more relevant right now? After you've written down all of the metrics, go over the list and mark out any that are incorrect or misleading. Add any fresh good ones that come to mind at the bottom. Now that you have a list, look through it and choose the one measure that you definitely cannot live without to assist you with the project at this point. What should you do when you've optimized that one metric? Once you get the metric and the project to the point where you are satisfied with the statistics, keep in mind that you will need to continue measuring them. You never know when that project or measure may need to be tweaked, again to assist you in the future. However, you may be confident that the process is now regulated and optimized. This signifies you've reached a stage where you're reaching a particular amount of success. You may now return to your list and work on a statistic that has the next greatest priority. This will be the next top priority for your company or the next major project need. You may go through the innovation stage you are now, and as well as the company or project type to choose which area of interest you should concentrate on. Keep in mind that the idea is to only focus on one statistic at a time. In your firm, you may need to handle a number of metrics. Keep your attention on one thing at a time. Sure, you can go through and make a list of the many issues that need to be handled at some point, and lean analytics is an excellent time to do so since it may help you understand where the problems are. However, you should prioritize the most critical one and work on it first. After you have finished the lean analytics stage of this challenge and have a successful plan in place, you may go on to the next phase of selecting a new project to work on. You may use this procedure on as many projects as you like. Just keep in mind that you should only work on one at a time. How to make lean analytics work better for you. Getting started with lean analytics might take some time to get acclimated to. It will supply you with excellent results and a winning approach that will put you ahead of the competition. However, for individuals who are just getting started with this stage, or with the lean method in general, you may want some assistance to get started on the right foot. Here are some wonderful recommendations to guarantee that you are doing well with lean analytics and that it is as beneficial for you as possible. A/B testing requires a large number of users. You will not obtain decent results from your A/B test unless you have a large number of users to assist you. This implies that it will not function well if you are a tiny company or if you do not have a large number of individuals to measure before doing this kind of exam. You need to have at least 10,000 events visits or persons using a feature are examples of these occurrences before you begin. Ensure that you can enlist the assistance of this many users. Make large changes. If you can't notice the changes from a few feet away, chances are the individuals you're testing with the A/B test can't too. For example, 41 distinct colors of blue were A/B tested. The results were not ideal since there were just too many various hues, which seemed too similar to most individuals. You must make significant modifications before doing an A/B test, otherwise it will not be effective. 19. Measure the tests correctly. You will not acquire accurate findings if the tests are not correctly measured. You must have the appropriate measure in place. Also, never terminate a running test too early or you may lose out on critical findings. Use the tools that you need. Lean Analytics offers a plethora of tools that you can use to make it effective. Make certain that you are fully educated to manage each component and that you do not overlook any key tools that might help this succeed. 19. Know where your company is right now. How are you meant to know what sort of project to work on and what KPIs to use if you don't understand your business? Make sure you understand the company's overarching aims and vision. This may help you identify some of the issues that need to be addressed and make it simpler to ensure that any changes you make are consistent with the mission of your company. Understand the various metrics. You should spend some time investigating the various metrics available for usage on your project. Each one may be excellent, but it all depends on the sort of company you operate and the project you want to work on. You must choose which measure is most appropriate for you. 19. Include the following in the Lean support system. The Lean support system is popular among many individuals. This helps them to eliminate a large portion of their company's waste and makes them more efficient. However, in order to realize results, you must first do Lean Analytics. This allows you to obtain the necessary information and then filter through and evaluate it. Then you may utilize this knowledge to devise the best solution to your situation. If you just implement a plan without the necessary resources, you are unlikely to see any outcomes. Prioritize the key issue. If your company is like many others, you have a lot of issues to deal with, but you don't have the time or resources to accomplish all of them at once. When you initially begin using Lean Analytics, you must identify the key problem, the one that will have the most influence on your revenues, and focus on it first. After successfully implementing Lean Analytics and working on the problem, you may go back and check if there are any additional issues that need to be addressed. Get rid of the garbage. Keep in mind that the most essential thing you will accomplish with the Lean method is to eliminate waste. And the data you acquire during the Lean Analytics stage is intended to assist you in identifying waste and learning how to eliminate it. Take a look at some of the most frequent forms of garbage that organizations may encounter, as outlined in a previous chapter, to get an idea of where to begin. Lean analytics may be a terrific method to put up a plan that will help your organization succeed. If you follow these guidelines and some of the tactics discussed in this manual, you will see some incredible results in no time. Thank you for reading Lean Analytics, the complete guide to using data to track, optimize, and build a better and faster startup business. We hope it was educational and provided you with all of the tools you need to reach your objectives. The next stage is to begin adopting Lean Analytics in your own firm. Lean Analytics is the starting point for learning how to make adjustments to become more cost-efficient and give better service to your consumers. This stage requires you to seek and evaluate data in order to determine the next step. You cannot develop a company improvement strategy without the assistance of Lean Analytics. Finally, if you found this book beneficial in any way, please leave a review on Amazon